Hello again. Today we're taking a look at how I create a page for my ad hoc album, and the truth is that every single page I make for the ad hoc album is a little bit different. It's my go-to album for just the vast majority of the bits and pieces stories of everyday life. So all of the things that don't go into some longer story that I want to tell in a specific album. Just anything that we do and we take a picture of and I want in my scrapbook, it's going to go in that book. And for me, that's way, way, way too many things and too many topics to commit to some single way or single color scheme or any sort of single motif that I want. And literally every page is a blank slate to me so that I can start and figure out what is it that I'd like to do. Now, if you have been familiar with my layouts, you'll know that although I say that, I certainly have certain things that I repeat, and that makes a style that you can identify. But it also means that I have things that I get bored of. So I might use a principle or use a design element so many times that I think, I've got to stop doing that and do something else. And I also like to make sure that I get good use of my product, and that's what I'm going to focus on here. I have started with one photo. So what I did was, I know that I'm working on that 2015 album. I know that I want the majority of the stories that I want to pull are from after April in 2015, although there are a few things I want to go back and put into the beginning. All of this kind of random picking and choosing of the stories and the photos is going to be after April 15 because there is a little bit of overlap between the baby album that covers his first year at that beginning of the year. So he was born in April 2014. So those first 4 months are already pretty represented in this other book. Now, that means I have lots of photos from his birthday to the end of the year, and any of that is fair game. I literally had my phone in my hand and thought, I'm going to make a page for that album today. I flipped through until one of the images caught my eye. I double checked that I hadn't scrapbooked it already, and I printed it out. It was about a minute process. So I printed it wirelessly from my phone. So this is a print at home print. And then I decided I would go ahead and try to use all paper scraps from my scrap bin. Now what I do when I'm finished with the layout, you'll often see that there are bits and pieces of paper all over my desk, and I just scoop them up and put them in one big bin. I do not sort my scraps because I do not have the time to spend in my craft room doing that job. If I have time to spend in the craft room, I would rather be actually crafting. So I do very little sorting. But here's the other thing that I find useful is that years ago, I thought sorting was going to change my life, so I kept sorting my scraps by color and then by pattern, and I had them all in little packets, and it was all very organized. And I never used any of it because it took me so long to go through and find a single piece that I wanted. Where I have everything just randomly thrown in a basket, I flip through, I pick things in just moments, and I find combinations of papers that I wouldn't have put together the first time. I also sometimes by accident go through and pick the same things that I've done another layout with, and that can be fun too. But today I've picked things that I don't think have all been together before, and I just chose a few things based on these two colors that I could see in the picture, blue and this kind of orangey yellow. So I pulled out this blue and it had yellow, so I thought, okay, I'll go with that. I pulled out another bit of yellow, and then found this lighter blue that was a better match for the table and the chair. Thought those could work together well. And then I needed some papers that would be a bit more embellishy. Well, embellishy is totally a word, by the way, just for the record. This one from Documentary has all these circles. And this pattern has gray in it that I hadn't picked up on yet. And this caught my eye, and I thought, gray circles, that could be the start of my embellishment. There was also a little bit of yellow. So that seemed like a win. And then I had another pattern that happened to be next to it in the basket. So I just picked those two up because they're a similar style, similar collection, well, same collection, so they have a similar style. And thought, I'll throw in a little green in case that's useful. And I had this bit of cloud vellum. And I would rather use vellum than have it get crumpled up any further in my scrap bin. So maybe this is the layout for that. So that I think it really just took me longer to explain taking all those scraps out of the bin than it physically took me to pick them and take them out of the bin. So it's a very, very quick, impromptu process for me. I love that. I love that I can go and get stuff that I've already used a little bit and not waste the rest of the sheet by just pulling out bits and pieces and pulling it together. But of course, that doesn't give me a background sheet. So I gave myself a little bit of a challenge. I need to go get a full 12 by 12 for the background. And I have a lot of sassafras, because some of you will know, I have a real love of sassafras papers, and sassafras don't make scrapbooking paper anymore. So I enjoy using it, and I'm going to continue to use it as long as I have paper left, and trust me, that's going to be a while. However, even within collections that I really, really love, I have papers that I find more challenging to use. So I think I had 4 or 5 of this particular paper. Do not judge. It's okay if you buy 4 or 5 sheets of a favorite paper or a favorite collection pack or whatever. And I have no problem with buying multiples if it's something I know I will use. In this instance, it's definitely a case of I bought a bunch when they were going out of business because I would rather have the supply than have it disappear. There we go. So I had quite a few. But I would use this one. I think I've used the polka dot side every time I've used this paper. And I really like the look of this journaling one. I love papers that have lines for journaling to help me. But for some reason, I have a block about using this sort of 12 by 12 with a little frame around it. I find that more difficult to use. But I thought this is very neutral. It looks like a great background for me to start putting stuff on. It's not as stark as a just plain sheet of white cardstock. So I'm going to take the challenge of a pattern paper as a background that I would ordinarily pass by and use it this time with all these scraps and this single photo. And my thought is that even if everything else goes a little bit wrong, when the photo is that cute, it'll work. You definitely have permission to think about your own photos that way. Also, you have permission to think I'm bonkers for thinking that photo is so cute, but it's my child, so I can think that. You thinking about your child, you know you do. Okay, so we're going to cut off the bottom here, start with my 12 by 12, and then I have all these scraps to try and figure out how to cut them and put them behind the photo. Most of the time I cut away from the filming when I'm cutting paper, but this time I'm going to go ahead and keep rolling so that you can see where the paper is coming from and how I'm choosing to cut it. So this one, I've obviously used a box here on another layout. I have this cut that was longer than what I needed. I'm just going to go ahead and cut across from there and use that to my advantage. So that means I have this piece. Again, I've got an L shape and an extra cut, so I might as well go ahead and do that. And we'll see if I just use the shapes that just happen to be there, then how lucky I get as to how it all comes together in terms of balance. Got a lot more of this blue. So maybe that's going to be a big box. Yeah. And the vellum. Don't faint. Okay, I'm just going to tidy up that edge. The rest are pretty square there. This one I'm going to cut the circles out, and I'll probably do that with my circle punch. What about this green? I think I'll do a strip across there. I think the whole block is too much. But that type of amount would be good. And I'm not sure about this one. No, not the wood grain. It's just not a good mix with everything else. This one, I think the pattern wouldn't read perfectly this way because I've got so many other pieces now that I've just put them down vertically. So why don't I try a vertical box, something like this, maybe about 4 by 6-ish. And we'll see. I'm not going to be upset if this one doesn't make the cut in the end, because it is a little bit different, but it might help the embellishment come together. Okay, so, then I go for, if I want to work quickly, I stick and go. Now this is partly why I do not use a super permanent adhesive like an ATG gun. I use one that you can pick up and move around. Because sometimes I don't like where I put things down and I do want to be able to move them. But 9 times out of 10, if I do this sort of layer as I go, I do end up happy and it's all okay. But not always, so it does help sometimes to have a bit of flexibility. I also don't put my adhesive all the way to the edge so that I have the potential for layering later, because I'm not planning what's going underneath there, and it can be a bit gutting to end up with something stuck fast and you want to put something underneath it, and to do that you end up accidentally destroying the layout. There's normally a way to fix it, but it's still a bit of a challenge. I think this green one needs to be smaller, actually. Okay, so with these layers, the reason I'm able to just stick them and go is because I'm using a technique that I've done so many times, and that's that I always want things to be a little bit offset. Oh my goodness, I really hope that you can still hear me over the fact that there seems to be drag racing going on in our neighborhood today. I do apologize. I don't know why everyone is deciding to drive 100 miles an hour when it's all 20-mile-an-hour roads. I hope the noise is not too bad. Okay, normally it's very quiet here. So everything is offset a little bit. I don't want anything to be absolutely in line, so let me pick this one up and show you. I would not place this like that, where this is even across the bottom, because then I don't get the layer effect. And even if I put this up like that, it's still, this bit is a little nicer edge, but this bit looks odd. So I would overlap, and the fact that this green is wider than that yellow means that I get the same effect over here. If this green was more narrow, I would end up with that effect, and that's fine too. But I wouldn't do it like this, where the yellow and the green are all in line. Okay. And then some vellum, and with the vellum I'm going to place my adhesive behind the photo. And I'm just seeing if I think I'll take this down just a little bit in height. Not a lot. But I think I like that. Oh, see, now I want to take it down even a little bit more so that I can have the green, because look, I've now made it exactly the same height as the green. Nope, can't be doing with that. So take another little strip off. And now all of those layers show you a little bit of the true color, but also a little bit of the softer color. And my photo is going to go there. Okay. So if that piece is going to go there, then I can just turn this over. And I do put a little bit more adhesive in that area because I'm not going to put any adhesive there. Okay. Making sure that those edges don't end up lined up. Straighten that out a little bit. Okay. So now I have the bulk of the page, the whole background and everything, the tone is set. So I need a little bit of embellishment, I need journaling, I need a title. And I have space for my journaling in the background. And if I go ahead and put my title and my embellishment on, my thought is that I could then just fill all the remaining space with the journaling, or up to all. I don't actually envision that I will fill every single bit of the background. But if the story were a bit longer, it is an option, and that's always good to know. I'm going to go to these and cut out some circles. I know I wanted the 2 in gray, and then I'm thinking also 1 in yellow, perhaps. 3 circles cut out, and I am going to go ahead and do something that I do often, and that means I may get stuck in a rut and think that I don't like it at the end, or you may look at it and think that it's too similar, but that's okay. If you do, then you know that you need to make more changes to your version. But anyway, the thing I'm going to do is to create 3 horizontal lines that mark out my areas of embellishment. So one's going over there, one's going over here, and then one's going to go up at the top. And originally I was thinking up here, but now I'm thinking this might be better. So those horizontal lines then give me a good little spot to put some circular type things. And this one says, but first glitter, and I kept it there because I kept thinking, but first glitter is something that I would put on a page about myself, but I then realized that there was a way I could just change the last word and the color combination, the fact that it has a heart, and then the new word would make it perfect for this page. And if I want something that says but first glitter, I can always spell it out with letter stickers on some other layout. That's not a problem. So I just try to tell myself to just let go and stop saving things for some hypothetical future project, because otherwise they're going to sit here for a long time. Okay, so those 3 spots allocated, and then I start working on what's going to go where. Now, like some of you may feel, the word hello comes up in scrapbook collections a lot, possibly too much. The reason is because hello is the most most often requested sentiment for card makers. So including hello in a scrapbooking collection makes it useful for card makers as well as scrapbookers, and that helps us have more scrapbooking collections. But there are only so many ways that we can say hello this, hello that, hello you other person in our scrapbook. So I understand if you have a lot of pages that say hello, fill in the blank, and you would like a different sentiment. If you have reached that point, then I would suggest either using your hellos for cards or giving your hellos to a card maker, because apparently it will make their day. But in this case, the table and chair is brand new in the photo, and it creates much excitement. And these letter stickers that had a lovely blue glitter, I had the right letters to spell table. So it just seemed like hello table is just as good a title as anything else that's going to work here. So I might as well go with that. Okay, I think I might tuck this one underneath both the photo and the tape. And that is one reason I like using washi for things like this, because just like the adhesive that I choose, I can move it around and not ruin everything. And this one, maybe this one needs pop dots to make it a little bit different. And then I'm going to use some letter stickers on the top to alter the text. Oops. And I know these are both going over the photo. I wouldn't put them over a part of the photo that was really important. I'm putting them over a little bit of empty, blurred background space. But I also appreciate that some people don't like anything touching their photos, and if that's the case, just put it underneath. And you could even put it underneath and have a border or a mat around your photo, so it's okay. Now, let's see. That text is really small. So the letter stickers I pulled out are going to be too big. So instead, I'm going to write it, because my handwriting is smaller than the stickers, and I'm going to write it on a little box and cut it out and put it on top. And then I'm going to cut this down as small a box as I can get without cutting off any of the writing. And then pop it over the top. Just like that. Okay, need a little bit more for these embellishment groups. I also pulled out some silver striped washi, thinking that would be kind of a dressy version of the gray and white stripe in the background. Just overlap that. It doesn't tear very well. It tears in kind of a funny little pattern. It happens. Make it work. This one's just going to be really small if I keep tearing it. There we go. Okay, that's acceptable. Maybe this one goes up here because it's so small. I wonder if it's the metallic that makes this tear strangely. I do not know. Okay. And I think since this one has text and this one has text, I'll put the date over here so that this has a little bit of text, and then the three will feel a little bit more like they go together. And then I'll start adding a little bit more to each of them as well. For the embellishment, I pulled out something here with 3 yellow items because I thought I could have some yellow hearts to balance the circle with a heart. So maybe each of these gets that, and then I could use the arrow maybe over here. And I had these really old home-themed flare buttons, and I thought this one would be a good way to bring the yellow over to this grouping, which doesn't have any yellow. This one is near the yellow, so it felt like it might work. And then I pulled out this set of Dear Lizzie stickers that are older than this particular collection, but because they were home themed, I thought it might work together. Okay, so let's see if this arrow, yeah. So the things I've pulled out are different textures, things that are flat, things that are dimensional, and trying to mix that up a little bit. I think if I put the little house sticker slightly over to the side, within the house flare badge, closer to the photo, it can be a nice little grouping. And then I have my yellow chipboard heart. So I've gone from having no yellow in this grouping to this nice little set of yellow things. See what I could put up here with the title. Oh, there's another little version of a house. So that could go behind there. I thought that was probably it, but I wanted to make sure before I started putting anything on top. Maybe this bit of yellow comes up to the top there, just in between those two ascending letters, the H and the L. I'm just looking at this space. I had toyed with the idea, because there's the and, all these ampersands here, of doing hello table and chairs. And have that there, would pick up on the green here, although I haven't used green in the embellishment. So I think I'll give that a try, but I don't have ampersands in these little stickers, so I can either see if I can get one from the pattern paper to look like it's something that you're supposed to read, but I think that's probably a bit difficult. So the other option is for me to find a third letter sticker set that has an ampersand that would coordinate, and that's probably not much harder than opening a drawer, so I'll have a look. Indeed, I have a tiny, delicate yellow ampersand that I think I can make overlap both words. Oops, so that's an October afternoon. Same collection as this one, just different sheet in the set. Okay, then journaling and some last embellishments, but I think the final embellishments will be really tiny things dotted about. I do realize I have quite a lot of open space here, more open than I would tend to leave. But I think because this pattern fits into the title, even though I said at the beginning I wasn't sure if it would work, but now I think that it has a nice purpose to leave enough of this pattern so that you can see the ampersands. Yeah, I think that will work. Okay, grab my pen and get my journaling into this empty space. I'm thinking I'll start it up here and then continue it down here, so that I have this triangle that I've made from the embellishments that surround his face, but then I also have my journaling that goes on this diagonal line crossing his face. So everything is going to draw your eye in toward that central part of the page. While I was writing the journaling, it occurred to me that I used that little bit of silver there and the gray paper, but that it would be nice if I was going to add a little bit of something like enamel dots that I could pick back up on that silver and gray. So I had a look, and I have these little kind of pewter toned pearls that work just like enamel dots. So I thought I have plenty of them, so I could do 3 in each little grouping. And I just look for places where they can overlap different elements and form a little triangle within the embellishment. Sometimes it doesn't work for them to overlap, so sometimes you end up with one just a little bit more free in the design, but I think this would still be okay. Just overlap to there. Oops. And then up here at the title. Just wondering, I could put it here in the middle. Oh, actually, what if I keep the triangle to just here? Feels a bit more balanced to me. And I'm not going to add any ink or anything to this because the pattern paper has the ink tone to the background. So that is everything done, and the only brand new sheet of paper that I pulled out was the background, so everything else was from scraps. And I used some things like this where I've been trying to get to the end of the sheet, and I'm much closer now. And I also pulled out some older embellishments that I've been holding on to for a long time, and yes, I still have those left, but I have one on the page. It's a start. So things like that make me really happy on a page-by-page basis, and then I pop this into the album so that I make sure it doesn't get damaged or lost and end up in that stack of layouts that I had at the end of the album. Getting that all fixed up with plenty of page protectors. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow.